guys, welcome to our book club. Today will be the first session of this experts level book whose name is The Turn of the Screw, a book written by an American and British author whose name is Henry James. And well, if you are ready for this new adventure, let's just begin. As I was commenting to you guys at the beginning of this video, today it will be the first session of this experts book. And before starting with the story, let me tell you some details about The Turn of the Screw, which is the title of the book that we will read. The author of the book is Henry James. He was an American and British author who was born in 1843, and the book was published in 1898. That is the reason why we will face some challenges, such as the structure of the sentences and the vocabulary used in the book. As you may realize little by little, the author decides to use a lot of middle dashes and commas in order to give us extra context in some sentences, which can complex the sentence, but that is why we are reading the book together, in order to face and to overcome the challenge and to increase our vocabulary arsenal. So I am sharing my screen, and as you may see, this is the cover of the book, one of the covers. It has several covers, and well, like The Turn of the Screw is a book published in 1898, and the categories will be fiction, occult and supernatural, supernatural creatures, and ghost. So here we have some details about the author and more titles from the same author. So I will start explaining you the context and the most important parts I consider in these very first 5 chapters. And the story began with a very brief introduction that give us, context about the story. So here we have, first of all, that the narrator of the story is a girl. How do we know that? Because little by little we have more details about it. But well, the narrator of the story is a girl. That doesn't mean that she is the main character, but here we have, the story. So in these very first lines, we have that, it is a group of people that they are gathering around a fireplace or very close to a fireplace, and they are listening to some spooky stories. The story that they just heard was about a story that involved a mother and her baby. It seems that they were sleeping and suddenly something, approached them or something, scared them. So, well, everybody is a little bit, anxious because it was a child involved. Because usually, scary stories don't involve children. And then we have a character named Douglas, who is an old man, who says something that is not scary. I have another scarier story. And well, everybody is like, what? Tell us, give us more details. And well, he started telling us, okay, the story you just told us, it was just one kid. I have a story where there are 2 kids involved. So imagine how scarier it could be. And well, everybody's like, oh, is it a horror story? Like, tell us more details. Like, hey, what about this? What about that? And well, oh yeah, is this story happened to you? And Douglas says no, this story didn't happen to me. And we have it here, I think in this part. Oh yeah, we have, here. It says, a woman's. She had been dead these 20 years. She sent me the pages in question before she died. They were all listening now, and of course there was somebody to be arg, to molesto. At any rate, to draw the interference. But if he put the interference by without a smile, it was also without irritation. She was a most charming person, but she was 10 years older than me. She was my sister governess, institutriz. And well, we have, like here that the spooky story is not from Douglas, it's from this governess, and that this lady was 10 years older than him, and the story was sent to him when the girl was just, like about to die. That's it. Later on, we know that, like the story probably it is true because, like this lady never lies, never lies. And also because, like when he read it, he knew that it was something weird, something spooky in the story. So, well, it seems that, like everybody is so interested in the story that they continue asking him for more details. But he says, like, hey, I am tired. And also, I don't have, like the story with me. It's in a letter that I keep, like in a drawer, which is unlocked. So I need to ask for the key. I need, like someone to send me the letter. And later on, I can read it for you. I can read it to you, sorry. So, well, like everybody's like, oh, okay, excellent. Like let's just wait for the letter. However, like it is an old man. And later on we have here that he took his time. He took his time because in the fortnight he started, like giving them some details about the story. So, well, since he took his time, the audience wasn't the same as like in the beginning. There were, like very few people, less people that at the very beginning. And well, we know that the story is from the governess, like from this girl who found an advertisement on a newspaper. And well, she was so excited about this job that she traveled to London in order to see, like the person who was hiring her. Sorry. And well, we have more details here. So let me just find here. It says. The first of these touches conveyed that the written statement took up the late of at the point after it had, in a manner, begun. The fact to be in possession of was, therefore, it is not here. It says, oh yeah, here. On taking come off to London in trepidation to answer in person an advertisement that had already placed her in brief correspondence with the advertiser. This person proved, on her presenting herself for judgment at a house in Harley Street, that impressed her as vast and imposing. So, like here we have this lady that she saw this advertisement on the newspaper. She traveled to London in order to see the advertiser, like the boss. And well, she was super impressed because of the house. Once, like she arrives, it says here, like this person proved on her presenting herself, for judgment at a house in Harley Street. Yeah. This prospective patron proved a gentleman, a bachelor in the prime of life, such as figure as had never risen. Saving a drift on an old novel. So it was, like a very luxury house. He was very elegant. And it says also here that, well, oh, sorry. So, like in this case, he started talking, like why he needed her services. And he says, like, well, like my nephew and my niece are orphans because their parents passed away in India. And well, I don't have time to take care of them. So I want to hire a governess in order to take care of them but like I will pay, I will do whatever it is necessary, but don't call me, don't tell me about any problem you may have, don't like I don't want to know anything about any of you. That is the condition of the job. So this girl, and then like the place where she needs to go, it is called Bly, and it seems to be like like the in a very far place. So this lady says like she returned, she was meditating about the job. She was like, well, it's far, it's suspicious because like he doesn't want to know anything about his niece and his nephew, but I need the money, it's a really really nice payment. And also she says, well, that she kind of like the guy because he was very elegant and handsome. She wasn't like fell in love, but probably she has a crush on him. So well, so here we have that like oh well, like in the conversation, so sorry, like in the conversation, the guy and the girl are having, like the guy says that, well, like he doesn't want to know anything, but there are like people in the house who can help her, so he's trying to convince her. At the end, as I told you, like she decided to think about it, but she accepts. And here is why we have later on, at the very end of this introduction, that probably this governess, this lady, was in love with the guy, with her boss, because she accepted. Like the job seems to be very suspicious, but she accepted it. And she saw the guy just twice. So everybody's like, oh, that's sad. Just twice? But well, so that is the very, very beginning of the story. That is the introduction, that we know that is a group of people, it is a story, and the story belongs to this governess who was hired by a guy because he want her to take care of his nephew and his niece in a very far place. He will pay for everything, but like he doesn't want to know anything about his relatives. So that is what is happening chapter, well, no, in the introduction, and then we have chapter number 1. So here in chapter number 1, we have like this lady, this ma'am, finally is arriving to the house, to the place where she will start working. And well, we know that the very beginning that she is hesitating, like she doesn't know, she's not right, she's not sure if she has done the right thing or not. So well, at the end, because like everything it's already like there, like I mean that this guy, he paid for the transportation, he paid for everything, like no excuses, like I take you to the place, you just need to say yes. So because of that, like she had no reason to reject the job, nor time, nor chance, nor anything. And well, like she arrived to the house. She is very very surprised because the house is big, and also because like she will be like the boss in that house. All the orders, everything will be on her. And another lady that is called Mrs. Gross. So here we have it, like Mrs. Gross. Oh, 1 second, sorry. Here. So like this is, and well, like the information that this lady has is that the boy is in a school and the little girl is there. We don't know how old is her, but we know that she is probably a toddler. And well, like as soon as this girl saw the little girl, she was in love. She was in love with her. She said like, oh, she's very pretty. She seems, like to be very naive. Like, I don't have kids myself, but if I have kids, I want them to be like her. So she is so, like here it says, like but it was a comfort that there could be no uneasiness in a connection with anything so beatific as the radiant image of my little girl, the vision of whose angelic beauty, and probably more than anything else to do with the restlessness that, before morning, made me several times rise and wonder about my room. Okay. Well, like here it says that the girl just arrived, like this Mrs. Goose, and the little girl that is called Flora receive this new governess. And well, the governess is so impressed because of the place, because of her room, and we know that she is also thinking about like, oh come on, like I need to teach, I need to be, like in charge of this house. Like, she is thinking about how her life has changed. So well, we have, well, like the girl is asking also for the boy, and we know that the boy is around 10 years old. He is at school, and he will be at home for the holidays. So well, that is, like as far as we know in this part. Oh well, in this part it's just that, like Flora and the governess, they are, like starting their relationship, and in order to spend time together, like the little girl took, like the governess hand and guide her, like around the house. It says, like showing the room, showing everything. And well, like the governess is happy because, she's in love with the little girl. So here in chapter number 2, it says, this came home to me when 2 days later I drove over with Flora to meet, as Mrs. Bruce said, the little gentleman, and more for an incident that, presenting itself the second evening, had deeply disconcerted me. So here is, like in this case, I'm so sorry, in the chapter, the governess receives a letter. Like she is trying to get used to the new environment, to get to know Flora, and then she receives a letter. She knows as soon as, like she saw the letter, that the letter is from her boss. So when she opens the letter, because, like she decided to open it at the very end of the day, so as soon as she opens, she is like a little bit in shock. She doesn't know what to do. So next day she decided, like to talk with Mrs. Bruce, who is the, like the maid from the house. And it's like, hey, how is the little boy? Like, because I just received this letter, and well, I want you to know your opinion. The governor just realized that Mrs. Cruz doesn't know how to read, so she read the letter for her. And in the letter it says that, well, the little boy cannot return to school because in school they rejected him. So that, like he will arrive and he will stay. That's it. So the governess start thinking that the guy probably is a troublemaker because, like nobody wanted him in school. So he's a little bit worried about the little boy. That's why Mrs. Gru's, you know, like, well, the governess started, you know, like telling how she felt about the letter, about the situation, and Mrs. Gru says like, oh, but you are wrong, you know, like, I mean, the little boy, it's an angel. Like, come on, you will see him and you cannot think anything bad about him. So probably, you know, like, the rejection of school, it was because of something else. And well, you know, like, the governess is like, I'm not convinced, but I will trust in you. So that's it. And well, here we have, you know, like, let me see. Oh, yeah. You know, like, yes, because we have some details with the guy, but also with, you know, like, the previous governess. Because, you know, like, the governess start asking Mrs. Gross, like, what can you tell me about the boy? What can you tell me about, you know, like, the previous governess? What happened? And Mrs. Gross told her that, well, you know, like, the former governess was working with them for a year. And after a year, she had chance to go on vacations, but she never returned. And well, when she needed to, you know, like, to return, the boss, you know, like, the elegant gentleman that we were talking at the beginning, called her and she's like, she's dead. That's it. They don't know more details about, you know, like, how, you know, like, when, what happened, nothing. So that's it. And well, you know, like, in this case, the current governess is like, that's suspicious, you know, like, did she die here? No, she went off, you know, like, but well, you know, like, she died. And that is it for chapter number 3. So sorry, for chapter number 2. So in chapter number 3, we have here that probably, let me just, you know, like, oh yes, you know, like, finally the governess and the little boy met, and she is like, yes, you're right, you know, like, the sister and the brother are the same. They cannot be bad. They are so naive, they are so innocent, they are so beautiful that, you know, it's not possible that they can't be playful or mischievous. So here we have, you know, like, it says, he was incredible beautiful. So, you know, like, in this case, 1 second. Oh, yeah. Well, you know, like, they pick the boy, and then it is like, well, what will you do? Mrs. Grus and the governess, usually they are having conversations. And well, the governess is a little bit worried because, you know, like, she will need to teach the boy subjects, and, you know, like, if he were in school. But also here is like, well, what would you do? What would you tell, you know, like, to their uncle? Nothing. What would you do? Nothing. What would you, like, nothing, you know, like, I won't tell anybody. I will just go with the flow. And in this case, you know, like, well, we have that nobody says anything, like, you know, time passes by, day passes by, and she is just, you know, like, taking care of the 2 boys. Nothing happens. But, you know, like, it says also here that little by little, you know, like, she is getting used to the environment, to whatever, she's getting her routine. And it says here, it was plum. One afternoon, in the middle of my very hour, the children were tucked away, and I have come out for my stroll, you know, like, for my walk. One of the thoughts that, as I don't in the least shrink now from nothing, used to be with me in this wandering was that it would be as charming as a charming story suddenly to meet someone. So this is the thing I was telling you about the author, like here, one of the thoughts that, and then we have extra information, and the sentence continues here. So one of the thoughts that used to be with me, and this is the extra information. Okay? So, like this lady was walking and she was thinking, like once in a blue moon, I think that it would be perfect to find, like a romantic prospect, to find this man, like the charming, like gentleman, and, like to have a romantic story. And then she, like was walking, and suddenly she saw someone, but, like from far. So she was walking and she saw someone who has no hat. And well, like all the time they weren't staring at each other, but they were, like suspicious, because, like she was just walking and she was thinking, like, where is this guy coming from? Like, who is him? Like, where? How? Like, why is not using a hat? Why is not this? So the governess is, like asking her a lot of questions. And well, it says that the place where they are, like where she was walking, it was very close to some towers. And well, like as soon as she is almost reaching the towers, the guy just look at her, and that's it, like look at her and passed. And she was, like so nervous. She was so anxious because of the way he looked at her. And that's why, it says, it produced in me this figure in the clear twilight. I remember two distinct gasps of emotion, which were sharply the shock of my first and that of my second surprise. My second was a violent perception of the mistake of my first. The man who met my eyes was not the person I had precipitately supposed. There came to me thus a bewilderment of vision of which after these years there is no living view that I can hope to give. An unknown man in a lonely place is permitted object of fear to a young woman privately bred. And the figure that faced me was, a few more seconds assured me, as little as little anyone else I knew as it was the image that had been in my mind. So, like she was scared because it was this guy from she doesn't know from where. And he's like, well, I'm scared. And also because, like she was trying to figure out the guy who was him. And the guy wasn't looking at her. And suddenly, like he was looking at her. So that's why she got, like a little bit nervous. And well, like the thing happens, but she arrives to the house, and is like, I'm nervous, like I'm really nervous. And well, it says, well, just to finish the chapter, it says, he stopped at the other corner but less long, and even as he turned away, still markedly fixed me. He turned away. That was all I knew. So, like he disappeared from her side. So we start with chapter number 4. And in chapter number 4, we start, like already with the suspense. Because, like the governess is thinking about all the secrets that that her boss, or, like even Mrs. Gruss can have. She's thinking about the former governess, how she died, and she's thinking about the guy, and she's thinking about, like maybe someone died here, maybe there is a secret, maybe there is something that, like I don't know. So, well, while she's thinking, like we have here, that, let me just, well, I don't remember exactly where is it, guys. Let me just where from the letter. Oh, like here they are using queer as like weird, strange, off. So here, like you will find this word very often. Some travel girl. Oh yeah, because like as I told you, she is thinking about the guy. So it's like maybe he was a traveler, maybe he was lost, maybe he was this, but like how? So she's thinking about a lot of things, and then it says like, oh yeah, the boy's name is Miles and the girl's name is Flora. So my charming work was just my life with Miles and Flora, and through nothing could I so like I'm so sorry. And through nothing could I so like it as through feeling that I could throw myself into a trouble. The attraction of my small charges was a constant joy, leaving me to wonder afresh at the vanity of my original fears, the distaste I had begun by entertaining from the probably great proofs of my office. So, well, like she is thinking about her job, that, like even if everything looks a little bit scary and also a little bit like dangerous or whatever, she is super happy with the two kids. Like she is happy giving them classes. And well, here we have. Mm, 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 mm. I don't want like to skip some parts. So I'm sorry. I don't want to skip some parts, so that's why he appeared. He never. Well, like yeah. Well, in this part, like the girl is thinking about this. Yes, I wasn't explaining you. So then it says here again, like there was a Sunday when it rained with such force and for so many hours that there could not be procession to church. So here, it was a Sunday, it was raining. They wanted to assist to a mass, but it was raining so hard that, like they couldn't. And that's why, like Mrs. Bruce and the governor says, like, well, let's just, like go in the afternoon. Let's just go at night. So, like as the time passes by, and then when it will be, like at night, when it is already time to assist to the church, the governess is just, like walking very close to some windows, and then she saw the same guy she saw the previous day, and she saw that the guy was very very close, like to the window, and he was looking inside. So she got super scared, and she ran outside, like where the guy supposedly needed to be, but she didn't see anything. She was like, okay, I ran, so if I ran, how come, there's nobody here? So she stood there, and she saw how Mrs. Bruce was coming, and Mrs. Bruce also, like saw her, and she got scared. And she got scared, and well, like the governor says, like, why she got scared. So, like it says here, just, to finish chapter number 4. I remind where I was, and while I waited, I thought of one. I'm so sorry. I remained where I was, and while I waited, I thought of more things than one. But there's only one I take space to mention. I wonder why she should be scared. Yeah, sorry. I wonder why she should be scared. So, like as I told you, the governess it's in front of some windows, and the window it is, like I don't know, like the window it is I mean, it is not outside. How can I explain it? Just 1 second. I mean, there is a garden, and then, like this space, it is a garden, and then the windows. But the guy is very close to the house. Very, very close. So that's why, like the governess got scared. But, like at the same time, as I commented to you, she's thinking, like, why? There are some secrets. Like, why nobody told me about this? Like, why, like my boss doesn't want to know about his nephews? Like, why this? Why that? And, well, like the last question, it was like, why Mrs. Gruses, like, is scared? So with that, we start the last chapter that we will discuss today. And well, in chapter number 5, we have the conversation between Mrs. Grus and the governess. So as I told you, the governess stood, like where the guy was. And, like through the window, Mrs. Grus is like, hey, what are you doing there? And he's like, well, like, I am here because I saw someone. Like, you saw someone? Like, but, like, why are you there? Yeah, because, like, I didn't think about it. I just, like, ran. I wanted to, like, to face him. And the conversation between, like, got a little bit deeper because Mrs. Grus started asking the governess for some details. Like, hey, how was the guy? Like, hey, how was this? And well, here, like the governess start explaining, like, okay, he was, like a ginger, red hair, he had no hat, he was, like this tall, he was this. And then Mrs. Grus says, like, I think, like I know him. And why? Because the name of this guy was, just 1 second. Let me see, because I don't remember. Yeah, it says quaint. Quaint. So where it does say is he's tall, but never, no, never a gentleman. I don't, aquí. So sorry, here. Peter Quaint. So, like the governess is describing these men to Mrs. Grus, and Mrs. Grus says, like, oh, but this guy looks like the driver from, like our boss. Like our boss came, he brought Peter Quint, but then he left and, like he stayed here. Peter Quint stayed here. But, like one day he disappeared and he's dead. It says here just to finish, yeah, he's dead. He doesn't mention anything else, like he was a bad person or anything. But so far we have so many details. First of all, that who is that person? Is it the ghost? Is like the former governess and this new character already dead? Why, like do they disappear? So the governess, the current governess is having a lot of questions. And well, here we have also so many questions about the kids, like, like why this story is involving kids, what happened. So far it is just the introduction. We know so far that the governess is the main character of this story, but she is not the narrator from the story. And well, we know that this is the story of this lady who was written in some letters. And well, we know so far, like the characters are Flora, that is, Fiora. Just 1 second. 1 second, because I forgot, like their names. I think it's Fiora, and then it's Flora, sorry. It is Miles and Flora, who are the little kid, who is 10 years old, and his sister, who is a toddler. They didn't mention her age. We know Mrs. Grus, who is the maid who is taking care of the house. The governess, who we don't know, like we don't know her name. We don't know the name of the boss, but we know that he is a gentleman. And well, the place where they are, it is called Bly. It is this, like place, this town where they are. So far, guys, as you may see, this is the beginning of the story. um I don't consider that it is necessary to talk in deep about some phrases or vocabulary for the moment. So review your vocabulary list. If you have any further questions, we can discuss them in our weekly session. Like it will be on next Thursday, that it will be the 14th at 8 p.m. So, well, I hope you continue enjoying this reading. I know that at the beginning it may be a little bit complicated because of the things I explained to you. But well, once you are already familiarized with the style of the author, it will be little by little easier and easier. So don't give up. Like practice makes perfect, guys. So thank you so much for the moment and see you in the next session. Bye!